Well, I want to thank all y'all for having us out. We do have primarily thing that I take care of is fiber optic Ethernet, which is business class, high speed internet, symmetrical, dedicated. We've got Alva schools, city halls, several other facilities and buildings and businesses here in Alva connected. And what we're actually working on doing is what we call overbuilding. We are installing more fiber optics than is utterly necessary to serve the minimums, because we want redundancy, we want ring protection, we want backups, so that if any one piece fails, it will loop back around and pick up on its own side. I've got some flyers that kind of talk a little bit about fiber optics and different services. I'm just going to start them here, and y'all would kind of pass them around. Y'all start that there. But if y'all aren't familiar with what Ethernet or ETS is, it's been around for about 20 years. A lot of people know it as a T1. It's the same dedicated download as upload speeds. You don't share it with your neighbors. You're not in competition with your neighbors or anybody else for your own bandwidth. It is yours. The newest fiber-fed Ethernet is what we're working on. It is literally data at the speed of light. Everything comes down through that, and through one hair-fine piece of glass fiber, you can push over 100 gigs of data at the speed of light. It is just absolutely amazing technology, the things that we can do with that service. Through that, we are expanding into other areas using the fiber to feed that information. But for example, a lot of folks are familiar with the level of UVerse. I've heard y'all love it so much up here. But if you've ever looked at your speed on UVerse, DSL, cable modems, it looks like a heartbeat monitor, just up and down, and speeds are just all over the place. You may have a 50 meg connection, but you're going to go from 2 megs to 5 megs to 10 megs to 20 megs back down to 1 meg. With Ethernet, ETS, you get a 10 megabit pipeline, for example. It's a flat line 10 meg wide open. It doesn't fluctuate. It doesn't drop back down. It is always wide open and right there. The other perk to it is, unlike DSL and other services, we don't have a 2 megabit upload. You get a 10 megabit download, you get a 10 megabit upload. 20 megabit, 20. It's the same dedicated, that's why it's symmetrical. So if you're doing a lot of uploading as well as downloading, they're going to pass each other, never slow down in the pipeline. So it's very, very secure in that because, because it's not running over a phone line. It's not running over 70, 80-year-old copper that the gophers and rats and mice and everybody else has decided to chew up. Brand spanking new. The other thing we're doing is the ring protection. Alva does fall in that ring. So if Farmer Bob out here on the new inline that we just finished putting in goes out there and says, hey, I want a new fence, right through our fiber. It's going to cut off that fiber, yes, but it's going to loop back around and on the other side, come back in from the other side of town. Anybody that's on that connection is not going to see an interruption. Pioneer has all of its service techs are local. We don't hire contractors from Houston or Oklahoma City or Texas or wherever. We hire, train, and maintain service techs in the areas that we offer services. We've got some of the best guys out there that have been doing nothing but fiber optic work, splicing, digging. That's what they do. They don't have 50 other jobs. Oh, by the way, hey, we need you to go fix this, even though this is not your job. Pioneer doesn't believe in that. You have a job, that is your job. You are the best at what you do in your job. New technology coming that kind of hinted on, we are looking at offering dial tone over fiber. Now, that being said, you will have to have fiber optics already into your place of business to take advantage of that. So if you've already got an Ethernet circuit or you get one from us, when that technology comes around, we will be able to offer dial tone. It's something we're testing right now. I believe Moreland has one of our nodes, and Kingfisher has the other node that we'll be feeding out of. So we'll be able to do more than just internet. We'll be able to do voice over IP phone system. We can connect you between if you've got a facility here in Alva and you've got somebody else over in Woodward or Enid or all the way down in Lindsay. We can do a point-to-point, and those internet systems can seem like they're literally on the other side of that wall on your network. So the technology is very, very advanced for what it is. It is very secure, and we definitely take a lot of painstaking effort to ensure that when we put it in, it's put in right with a lot of backups, so you don't see any issues or downtimes on any of that. That pretty much covers some of the Ethernet. The other side of Pioneer, we've got alarm systems, we've got camera systems, we've got card access systems. I've got a little flyer up here. If anybody wants a little more information on something that I don't necessarily take care of, you're welcome to fill it out, or for yourself, if you'd like to have one-on-one, have me give you a call, go over a little more of it with you on your specific needs and what Pioneer can do to help support your business and grow your community here. Feel free to pick one up. There's pins up here. Welcome to have those. I get a ton of them. They're actually really nice pins. I use them myself, so they're not the freebie throwaways. I like these ones a lot.
Cost comparisons?
Cost comparisons on an Ethernet circuit. This is not DSL pricing. It's not DSL service. So cost comparison wise, you're looking at about, for example, a 10 megabit connection in Alva is going to run you about $800 a month. 20 megabit connection is going to run you about $1,100 a month. But with that, you get all those perks that I said. You get 99.99% guaranteed uptime. You get 3 milliseconds of jitter. That is insanely fast. There's literally nothing there. Live customer support. It's 1 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Eve. You're at work. Your internet goes down. You pick up that phone. You're going to get a real live person in Kingfisher. Not going to get a computer. Not going to get a recording. And we will roll people in less than 24 hours to get that fixed. We will have real people out there to get it fixed right away. Any other questions on that?
Ever going to be more in the price range of home use and type of thing, or probably not ever going to be there?
Pioneer is looking at a technology, we call it GPON, and it's similar in the way that DSL works, that it's a shared service. We've only been talking about it for a couple of months. It will be in the lower pricing range, comparable to something like what Suddenlink's offering in Enid. Price range wise, you're still looking about $300 a month. It's not going to have that symmetrical service, so it's going to have a limited upload of maybe 5 megs with a download of anywhere from 20 to 50. So you're going to lose that symmetrical. You're going to lose the dedicated. It will still be fiber fed. It will still be on the core ring, but you don't have all those same perks that you do with the ETS. It's just the next step down is what I would call it. Now, when that's coming, it could be first of the year. It could be first of next year. Pioneer is very safe and secure in how they do things. They want to test it. They want to look at it. They want to double check it. And they want to make sure that what we put out there is the best that we possibly can offer and get all the hiccups out before we even roll it out to anybody. So when that's coming, I could not tell you. Same as with the dial tone. But I will tell you that it is something that we're looking at.
You know, in Oklahoma City, in Edmond, my daughter lives in Edmond, and you know they just double the speed of theirs. They went from 25 something meg, I'm not sure what it was, to 50. You know, and went from like $19.95 a month to $29.95 a month. You know, where ours is like the best you can buy is 10 or 8 or something, depending on cable or AT&T.
Yeah, that's based on the service provider that's in the area and the technology. The majority of UVerse and Suddenlink and cable modems are fed off of copper plant that AT&T has had in the ground since 1930. I mean, it's the same copper that's already there, connected, running between town to town. It's the same copper that they buried under the main city sidewalks eons and eons ago So there's degradation in copper over distance. Data traveling. I'm trying not to lose you here, but when you send a signal over copper, it loses signal. It loses that integrity. The longer that you stretch it, try and send that information. Whereas with fiber optics and light, it's the same at 20 foot as it is at 20 miles.
When you actually install that fiber optic, do you bring the fiber clear into the business all the way, or is it to some junction point where you hook up the copper?
If we bring fiber into your building, we will bring fiber all the way from our handhold, which is fiber fed, into conduit. Now, we don't drill buildings. We don't core drill buildings. It's something that Pioneer liability. But as long as you give us conduit, we will run that fiber straight into your building into what we call an acedian. It looks similar to the mic setup that's over here. It's a network box. We plug our fiber into that, and then we can hand off to you with fiber optics if your network has been upgraded to that, or we can hand off through RJ45, standard networking Cat5, Cat6 cable, which inside your own facilities, that distance, unless you have some really crazy long runs like we've got over here at the Votech, you're not going to notice any degradation on the copper in your building. But we will bring fiber optics all the way to the handhold or the demarcation inside your building.
Are you having any plans for wireless internet?
Not in Alva as far as WISP. Now, we do have the cell phone side of wireless, which Rhianna can take care of. She knows that side way better than I do. Any other questions on ETS? All right, well, thank y'all very much. I want to hand it over to my... Oh, sorry.
Quite a few years ago, you guys buried a fiber optic line in this part of the country. Because I know that it goes through one of my farms.
Yeah, Pioneer's been burying fiber for about 18 years.
It was a long time ago, right? And it was, I remember it was very wet, and they had a big old D9 dose with a stinger on it, and then on the front it had a reel.
Yeah.
If the ground was dry, why you'd think that big of a dozer would be able to just bury it just nothing flat. He needed help. There had to be another dozer ahead of him with a winch, with a cable, and when he got to spinning, the other one had to turn on the cable, and we had comedy time watching.
Yeah, we do still do the double team dozers when we're running fiber, because this is more of an engineering thing, but I've gone out and watched them. We don't use the trenchers that just dig up that giant hole and leave 5-foot piles of dirt all the way around it. We use what's called the plow method, and attached to that dozer that he was talking about, that big old D9, is a literal hook-shaped plow that a little bit of vibration to it, jams down in, and they pull it through. So it literally separates the earth just far enough for that conduit to be fed down right behind it, and then it closes right back on top of itself. So we try not to disturb and dig up 4-foot wide sections just for a 4-inch piece of conduit to run. So when it comes back down, as long as it's not super rocky, you can hardly tell where we come through, aside from the tracks that will eventually kind of cover themselves back up from the dozers. But yeah, when it gets muddy, it can get very entertaining watching them try to drag that through.
This may be a Rhianna question, but what's the scheme on cell phone tower sharing between different providers in this area?
I can go over all of that.
Okay.
Did you guys have some more questions for Andrew, or do you want me to go ahead and...
Your turn.
You're up.
Okay. Thank you for letting me take the opportunity to tag along up here with Andrew. I know that the cellular side has been around here for a little while, but we have a lot of really great updates, and I guess we can start with your question. We now have a new roaming agreement it's with Verizon Wireless. We still have a secondary one with Sprint, which is who it was previously. The primary was with a few years ago. So, which means whenever you're outside of Pioneer's kind of rural northwestern Oklahoma coverage area, you're going to be roaming on Verizon's towers, which has a wonderful nationwide network. They have really great fast 4G LTE, which is just a faster, I know it's advertised everywhere, but which is just faster internet. So we like to tell our customers between 6 and 12 megabytes per second on the up and download speeds. That all varies depending on how many users are in the area, things like that. I've seen up to 25, but the average is going to be around 6 to 12 is what we really like to get people comfortable with. So we do have home LTE devices that work off of our cellular. That would be an internet device like a router. It would, instead of be plugged into a landline internet source, it's going to be a cellular router. The plans, we've just changed our plans and revamped them kind of to make them a little bit more clear to our customers as to exactly what you're paying for. I know that in the cellular industry there's been over the years a lot of confusion as to what you're actually paying for, what you actually need, things like that. So these new rate plans give it a little bit more clear cut answer to those questions. The home LTE plans would be a usage-based internet plan. So where you would get that same speed of internet, it would be you would pay for the amount of data that you use. So that's where you get into the situation, is it better to go with your local internet provider or a cellular internet? I have a lot of companies that do cellular internet. It just depends on how much you're using and how much you're comfortable with paying for it. But we've done a really good job in the last few years of getting updated with the newest devices coming out. We've got like the iPhone 6, the newer Androids, things like that. I know that in Alva, I believe we just have the agent store here for consumers. And I know that they've been going through some training to be able to give a little bit more help, a little bit more similar to our home stores, our corporate locations like in Kingfisher and things like that, so they can help our consumers here a little bit more. But on the business side, I do travel to Alva to do business cellular. I can bring you phones, answer questions, things like that. And I have some cards here today if you guys have some more questions about any of that. Do you guys have any questions for me? I'm not sure what line to cover. We do have cellular service in southern Kansas. I'll have to double check on exactly where the line runs, but just right at the southern. Oh, she's got it there. Yeah, is that our cellular on there on the back of that?
I believe it does have the cellular on the back of it as well.
On your cellular?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I was not aware that he put that on there. But and anything, they keep our website, Wireless Pioneer, updated pretty good. And we've been lighting up new LTE networks all over the state. So I think 4 or 5 in the month of October went up. I know Moreland was one of them. Winoka was one of them. So, and Alva is a 4G area. So we're getting better service all over. And, like Pioneer has been, we're a rural provider, and then now we have quite a bit better coverage and outside of our area where you're roaming on Verizon, and there are no roaming charges to be outside of our area.
I know AT&T and Suddenlink advertise get your television over their networks.
Yes, sir.
Do you provide that?
We do provide Pioneer DTV. It is only in our telco areas, so those are kind of like the rural towns. I'm not sure of exactly what the rules on
Basically,
that are.
if we can do dial tone, we can do DTV service in that area. So again, it comes over the telephone lines that Pioneer's had in the ground in our exchanges already, is the way the TV service works.
Yeah, so where Andrew was talking about that we have in plans a plan for a way to have dial tone here in the area. I don't think that the DTV probably would be something that would be feasible for us to get here, unfortunately. We would love to provide it here, but I think there are higher powers that are preventing us from doing that. Yes, sir.
Is there any way for you to provide dial tone in the city limits of Alva where you don't have the franchise?
Well, where Andrew's side is working on a system that would provide a dial tone over the fiber-fed lines. Cellular does have a cellular device that would. Yes, sir. I mean, we have not a landline in what you're talking about. He is working on a dial tone over the fiber-fed lines.
Once they get the dial tone over fiber perfected and they are happy with the service that's coming, it will be the same as the phones that you're already using. You can still use those same phones. It will be a landline service, but instead of being fed over copper 2-wire phone lines, it will be that dial tone will be fed over the fiber optic.
Well, specifically, we've got a new addition out here that has no phone service. Nothing's been installed at this time.
Well, Pioneer's not really looking. It takes a lot of work or I shouldn't say work, it takes a lot of red tape cutting to be able to offer residential services outside of our own exchanges because of the telco exchanges and the whole monopoly system that was set up 50, 60, 70 years ago. So residential services outside of our telco exchanges are almost an impossibility.
So that'd be anything north of
Well, our exchange, if you look on the back of that map, it has some of our exchanges starred. We have, I believe, 77 exchanges in the state of Oklahoma that we offer our dial tone and DTV service that's a actual Pioneer telephone exchange. So those areas we offer the residential services. But on the outside of that, it would cost millions upon millions of dollars to run that much fiber optic to literally a 300 home neighborhood, for example. I mean, it'd be ridiculous amounts of money, and it's just not something that Pioneer is looking to outlay outside of our exchanges because of the tariff charges that we would have to pay in order to do that. I mean, it would be a 200-year payback. It wouldn't work.
I do know that at one time when we were celebrating Bell, that Pioneer did try to buy this whole thing, but they refused. It was that whoever owned it at that time.
Yeah.
There is a cellular device that will allow you to plug a home phone into it. It would be on a cellular plan, but you could port your home phone number if you had an existing for those people out in a neighborhood that wouldn't be able to have home service. And the advantages of that cellular, you don't pay long distance charges. So there is an option on the cellular. It would be on your cell bill. It wouldn't be a home landline, but it would be something that they would be able to at least have in their home if they needed it. Yes, sir.
We have a cabin in Colorado, and we would like to put up an antenna and have Wi-Fi, internet access there. But of course, we're roaming out there. We're Pioneer customers here, but we're roaming out there. Is that possible to do that, or would we have to have a separate deal with Verizon or whoever's providing the service?
I would suggest probably doing a separate deal with Verizon. As much as we would love to have your business, the Pioneer's rule is 50% of the usage has to be in our home area. We pay Verizon we pay them more than they pay us for us to use their network. So if it's solely going to be there, I would probably go with theirs. It probably would be a little bit easier to maintain out there as well, because if there was something that a tech needed to look at or something went wrong with the device, you'd have to bring it all the way back here. So all the way out there, I would probably check with Verizon.
I got another question about traveling outside of the United States. I know my daughter has her cell account with a different company, and it's really no problem when she goes out of the country. But from what exploration I've done with Pioneer, it is a problem.
Yes, sir. I'm glad you asked that question. We have in the works right now, we have some gentlemen that are traveling outside the country testing a new international SIM. So internationally, you use a CDMA network, which is like AT&T and T-Mobile, where you use the SIM card in your phone. Other countries use that technology for the most part. So in our phones, we use a different technology. There are some of them that are capable of that, and you can get an international card. It's not something that we've had previously, but we are testing it right now. It should be up and going very soon. They haven't given me an estimated date. I know it's being tested now, though. Yes, sir.
We spent about 2 weeks out of country of Canada this summer, and we let our provider here at Alva know that we were going to be out of Canada, directly wherever we were going to be. And we received and made calls from, is that what we're talking about here? From even in Canada?
Yes, sir. Now, in Canada and Mexico, you get into a little bit different a situation as if you were traveling a little further than that, because there are towers that you can hit. You could be close enough to hit a U.S. tower in Canada, and theirs is so much similar to ours that sometimes even if you get up further in there, a Pioneer phone will work. It's kind of an anomaly that you just get to take advantage of. But traveling anywhere further than that, I mean, it's not something that we can guarantee will work. But if it does, then it's just kind of a good deal for you.
This will be the last question I have.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Earlier you were talking about milliseconds, and I appreciate the program, but in about 5 milliseconds I'm going to have to leave.
Yes, sir. I understand. And I just wanted to say one more thing. We do have a really big Friday before Black Friday sale that's on the 19th through the 22nd. You can go online, and there's going to be double data. If you were looking into the home internet things, that would be a good thing to check out. So I'll end it now.